there, thanks for stopping by my channel to paint. Today I thought it would be fun if we did some watercoloring with the new Altenew watercolor palette that just came out. I did do a swatch video on that. I'll put a link to that at the top of the screen in case you'd like to check that out. And I'll also put a link to everything I've used today down in the description box in case you would like to go pick something up and do a little bit of shopping. So the stamp that I'm using there is called Beautiful Heart. It's a brand new flower image from Altenew also. It's really pretty. It comes with a giant flower and then a bunch of the bigger leaf, and there's also a little smaller leaf in the packaging, and then a sentiment that says, "You have the most beautiful heart," which I'm not going to use, but I thought it was really pretty. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to use 3 different pinks to color in my flowers, and I'm trying to get them wet first and then do a little bit of a light wash, and then I'm going to come back and add darker shadows in the creases and down towards the bottom of the petals. When you're doing watercoloring, I try to skip every other one, so I'll do one petal and then skip one and then go to the one next to it, so that you will have it'll have a chance to dry. If you do them right next to each other, then if you're painting one, the color tends to run into the petal you're already working on. It kind of makes a big mess, so we try to avoid that by just moving around or letting it dry in between. I did stamp my image with Ranger Antique Linen Distress ink. This is a really light ink, and I put it in my Misty to stamp it a couple of times so that it would stay. The paper's bumpy. I'm using Arch's 140-pound cold press paper, and it's kind of bumpy, so if you put it in your Misty, you can stamp it a couple of times and get a really good impression. But if you use the distress ink, when you're painting, it's water soluble, so it will kind of disappear as you're painting on there. And when I stamped it, I didn't mask it. If I was going to stamp the leaf over the top of my flower, I just wiped off the edges with my finger so that it wouldn't stamp on top of it. Even though it's not going to matter in the end because all the lines disappear mostly towards the end of your painting anyway. I'm adding tons and tons of layers. It took me about an hour to paint all these flowers and stuff all together. So I did let it dry in between, and I've got it taped down onto a clipboard with some just regular painter's tape so that it will stay flat as it's drying and as I'm painting and getting it wet. So I'm going to go ahead and let you watch the painting part, and I'll see you again towards the end. Alright, so I've finished coloring or painting my flowers, and now I'm going to add a little bit of shadow around the outside. For that I mix some black paint with the lightest blue and a little bit of water, and I'm just spreading it onto my page, and then I'm bringing it out towards the edge until it turns back into the color of the paper. And then I went in and I added just a touch bit more of black to my paint palette up there, and I'm going to go right next to the flowers and make them a little bit darker so that they'll pop off of your page a little bit more. It makes your flowers stand out against your background there if you add a little bit of shadowing around the outside. You could also hand draw some leaves or some like fuzzy flowers in the background. I think that would be really cool. I might try that next time. So after I get this all done and I let it dry for a little bit, I'm going to come in and use some excess paint that I had on the lid, add some water to it, and splatter it onto my painting. Then I'm going to go ahead and add some Perfect Pearls from the mister bottle. I'm just going to remove the lid and tap it with my finger so some of the splatters will land on the page and add a little bit of sparkle. Then I went ahead and trimmed my piece to fit onto a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base, and I'm going to use my Faber-Castell pencils to add some detail work onto my finished watercolor piece. I find that when you use your pencils, if you turn them every couple of seconds, a quarter of a turn, it will keep them sharper, so you spend less time sharpening your pencils and wasting less of the lead. So just make sure to turn them a little bit every time you do some coloring, and it'll work out great. I think this makes the flowers pop a lot better off of the page if you add a little bit of some colored pencil work in there to make it stand out better. So after I get that all done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mount it to a piece of Bazzill Fig Swirl cardstock, and then I'm going to use the Altenew Thanks die to cut out some glittery cardstock, and I'm going to mount that onto the front, and then I'm going to use the Your Next Stamp Whatnot Sentiment 9. I'm going to use part of a sentiment that says thanks a million. I'm only going to use the a million part, and I'm going to stamp that with some Versamark ink, and I'm going to emboss it with some white embossing powder so that it will really stand out against the black cardstock I stamped it on. Then I'm going to go ahead and pop that up on some foam dots, and I'm going to add that to the front of my card. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple of pictures of the finished card. You can also hop over to the blog and see that too if you'd like. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the little bell so you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Right about now, you should be able to click on a couple more videos I thought you might be interested in and see some more of some coloring and different projects. I hope you're having a fabulous day, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.